Hey, vinyl community people and all my music loving friends. It's Mike MGK Boston back with another video on a sunny fall Saturday. Off to a pretty crisp start. It kind of flipped overnight, the weather that is. Last time I was making a video, it was sizzling hot. And now we're into what looks like the start of fall. Summer's wound down and yeah, it's getting cool. Anyway, nice for a little run this morning with my wife. And then I thought I'd throw a video together. Just killing time here. So anyway, looking for stuff to talk about. I watching some other YouTubers. I kind of was running out of ideas today, and I just thought all of a sudden, I thought, hey, I did this alphabet soup thing about a year ago. I did the letters D, J, what was the other? Maybe I did the letter S. I can't remember. It was just basically featuring artists that bands beginning with a particular letter, or a solo artist, their surname began with the same letter. So today, Mike begins with M. So today we're just going to do first initial. So if your name's Dave, it would be D. If it's Steve, it's an S. Peggy Sue, it's a P, whatever. But I'm Mike. So today it's the letter M. It's 12 albums with my first initial. Of course, like I said, it's the letter M. We're going to jump right in. It's more Chiba. A little kind of trip hop. Wouldn't call it acid jazz, but this kind of sound was big in the 80s and that, or 80s, 90s, and that's when I picked this up. I believe the release date on this one is 98. Yeah, so it's two brothers on production, Paul Godfrey and Ross Godfrey, and of course the unmistakable Sky Edwards on lead vocals. It's really cool stuff. Just see what's on the inside here. Just some weird photos. I don't know what's going on here. There's a picture of a liquor store, and there's the three members right there. So Paul Godfrey, Ross Godfrey, and Sky Edwards. So there'll be like some sampling kind of loops in there, downbeat kind of, like I said, a reference to acid jazz, but it's not really. More like trip hop, like if you know Tricky from the 90s, kind of like his stuff. And yeah, it's more Chiba. I have this one. This one's called Big Calm, of course, and I have the follow-up to this. They did put some more stuff out into the 2000s, but at that point I'd lost interest. Highlights from this one, track that opens it called The Sea. As you can see there, it's excellent. Shoulder Holster follows up with it. Blindfold, Digging a Watery Grave. It all kind of flows together nicely. Nice background music. I'd like to get their Interior Decorator. That's kind of my groove right there. I'm liking that look. And of course you got the, kind of a 60s kind of model babe hanging out there, and what looks like Maxwell Smart's apartment from Get Smart. It's more Chiba, and it's Big Calm. Release date on that one is 1998. And like I do, I'm all over the place with the styles or genres, whichever you want to call them. I always call it genres, but I guess that makes me a snob, right? Maybe so, maybe not. This is Jerry Mulligan, Quartet. He played in several incarnations. This is probably his first quartet. The release date on this one, this is an original from 1959. It's in pristine condition. Don't know what the seller was thinking. I got this for $5. Of course, it's on Columbia, as you can see there. So Jerry Mulligan plays baritone sax. It's got that deep, rich sound. I just love it. And of course, on this one, other personnel, Art Farmer on trumpet. You can see Art Farmer right there. So they... no piano in this quartet, so it's bass, trumpet, drums, and of course saxophone with Jerry Mulligan on that instrument. Not familiar with the other players here. It's a guy named Bill Crow on bass, and that's Bill Crow there, and a guy named Dave Bailey on drums. Not familiar with him. But I've got a whole bunch of Jerry Mulligan stuff, so not 10 years later, he was in the Dave Brubeck quartet. In '67, he hooked up with Dave Brubeck when Dave Brubeck retooled the quartet, and Paul Desmond, his sideman for so many years on sax, he left, and so did the other two guys, and then in came Jerry Mulligan in '67, and they had a pretty successful partnership into the mid-'70s, him and Dave Brubeck, that is. And this, of course, is called What Is There to Say, as the title is right there. Title track is excellent. Just in Time right after is also good. This whole record is fantastic. And there's a track on here called News from Blueport. I don't know if that's meant to be a play on the Newport Jazz Festival, which would be Blues from Newport, but instead it's News from Blueport. I don't know if that's a reference to that, but I'm guessing it is. My Funny Valentine, they do a version of that standard on here. This is really, really highly recommended. I'm a little biased because, as I said, I really like most stuff that Jerry Mulligan did in his lifetime, and this is no exception. It's called What Is There to Say? Release date on that one, 1959. M is for Mulligan. It's also for John Mayall, great blues man himself, still alive and still with us, from London. And this is called, this compilation is a CD compilation called London Blues, of course, and there's a young John Mayall on the cover. And this spans the years, as it says, 1964 to 1969. I actually saw John Mayall in Toronto, probably 2003, 2002. Can't remember who opened for him at the time. This is a really nice collection, full of nice photos of him, of course. Multi-instrumentalist, keyboard, guitars. His main instrument being keyboard, though, of course. Many personnel came and went in this band, of course, including Eric Clapton right there. That's the famous cover from the Blues Breakers album. Name escapes me right now. I have that one also. And he's reading the copy of Beano there. But yeah, so this, and then there's the story about, you know, the different incarnations of the Blues Breakers, and on it goes. You know, there's some more photos. I think I just showed you that one. There's that center one. So it's a very nice collection. This was released, I want to say the date on this one, 1992. Original label was Durham, but it was distributed by Polygram, this particular collection. And this issue came out in 1992. And like I said, it's a 2 CD set. Disc 1. And of course, there's disc 2. Yeah, if you ever see this out in the wild, it's a great CD compilation. Again, M stands for Mayall. It's John Mayall. This CD release, 1992, the release date on that one. And the year was 1975. Great keyboard, piano guy, Manfred Mann and his Earth Band. This is probably one of the records they're most well known for. Again, released in 1975. This is kind of it's rock. It even gets kind of, I don't want to say psychedelic at points, but just a really good group of players. The lead guitarist on this, what's the lead guitarist on this? I'm looking on the credits here. Can't find the, oh yeah, right here. Guy named Mick Rogos, I can't say it here, but there's the personnel on the bottom here, and there's Manfred Mann right there. Of course, yeah, an organ and synthesizers. It's weird because there's he plays like a Moog, or I'm not sure if it's a Moog synthesizer, and then he'll go over to electric piano. It's all over the place, but the album opens with a track called Spirits in the Night, right there, and there's the lyrics. That's a Bruce Springsteen composition. It's really, really great. Classic rock radio plays it once in a while. I wouldn't call it a classic rock radio staple, but it's one of those you go, oh yeah, I've heard that before. And it's a really nice jam. It's around a 6-minute cut, and it's highly listenable. The rest of this is also really good too. Countdown's an instrumental. Time Is Right, Quit Your Low Down Ways, Fat Nelly. And then at the end, there's a live track inserted here, As Above, So Below. That's a reference to something about World War II. I can't remember the story, so I won't try to expand on that. As Above, So Below, that is. But again, yeah, this was released in 1975. You can see the date on that. So it's Manfred Mann and his Earth Band. It's Nightingales and Bombers. Release date on this one, again, like I said, 1975. Really good, like a Sunday afternoon listen. Blaze one, kick back, put your feet up, and enjoy it. It's Nightingales and Bombers. Love that. Speaking of John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, like I said, many players came and went. And then went off and did other bigger, better things. Not say better, but bigger things on their own. And these two guys, John Mark and Johnny Almond, Mark-Almond, they called their band. This one, with the release date on this one, this is their self-titled debut from 1971. Not sure of the other two players in the band, but this, I've mentioned the Mark Almond band before, not to be confused with MARC Almond, who are a new wave synth pop outfit in the 80s. These guys are far from that. This is more, I'd call it jazz rock, certainly not like Steely Dan. A little more far out, way more far out than Steely Dan. But again, really listenable, and it's, yeah, it's their debut, like I said. Let's see if I can get it out of here. Take a closer look. So this flips up. You can see the embossed Mark Almond logo. Their logo is always the same like that on there. And I have a bunch of their stuff. I really like them. shot on the inside of the band. And yeah, biggest track on this one, it opens with a song called The Ghetto. Really, really excellent. And of course, side 2, 11 minutes and 49 seconds. It's a 4-part suite called Love. Again, that's a 4-part suite. You can see the 4 parts here, and it rounds out with this another long track, Song for You, which is also really good. If you want to get mellow, well, look at these guys. They look pretty mellow right here. It's good. It's if you like jazz like I do, it's a perfect marriage of some guys that played blues, and then they're into the more. They leaned obviously more away from the blues when they left the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers sound behind them and did this. And they did several releases in the 70s, and I have most of them at this point. And again, it's Mark Almond. Release date on that self-titled debut, 1971. As I promised, I am all over the place today, and this is the great Al Jourgensen of Ministry from Chicago. This is their second album, second full length, I believe. I think this is actually a promo copy because it's got that stamp on it. So anyway, yeah, this is their second full length LP, like I said. And again, they're, you know, the Wax Trax sound produced by Adrian Sherwood. But they were on Sire, not on Wax Trax. Wax Trax is a good label. Wax, T-R-A-X, Wax Trax. A lot of industrial bands on that label in the 80s. Too many to mention. But yeah, Adrian Sherwood was heavily involved with that. He might even run that label, Wax Trax. His name was everywhere at the time. If you were into industrial music, it was unmistakably, he was there all the time. Again, after this album, they did The Land of Rape and Honey. The release date on this one is 1986. So yeah, Land of Rape and Honey came out the following year, maybe even 88, 2 years after this one in 86. And they went way heavy on that one, if you know Ministry. This was still more in a school, like if you know Front 242, kind of like that kind of sound, more of a dance. Then they actually adopted on Land of Rape and Honey. They go full on, it's like heavy metal industrial, if you will. And it's good, but I don't have any of that stuff. I was more into this stuff at the time, the synthy stuff. But yeah, big single on this, I believe, was Halloween, and it's not on this, so I just noticed. So I think the reason is because this was some sort of a promo and it didn't have Halloween on it. But Over the Shoulder was a big single on this. There's a good video for that that came out at the time. You could look that up. That was, you know, in rotation on MTV and Much Music. On the alternative charts too. It was, I believe, that single charted again, Over the Shoulder. But this is Ministry Twitch. Let's see what's on the inside. I don't know if there's any photos. I haven't looked at this in a long time. Nah, not much going on here. Just track listing. And there's some kind of shadowy, menacing looking figure. But yeah, it's Al Jourgensen. It's Ministry. Still around, I believe. Still doing the festival circuit. Again, frontman Al Jourgensen, a very creative guy, and never had a shortage of ideas. Moving on, I don't know where we are here, maybe number 6, I believe, on this list of 12. And this is from the 80s. I bought this not long after it came out. It would have been in high school. This was in 1982. So Missing Persons' debut album was actually full-length album. It was called Spring Session M. This is a 4-song EP. The label, I think, must have put this out just before Spring Session M came out, just for radio play. And it's a 4-song EP, and both of the side 1, Words and Destination Unknown, were both singles, big singles from Spring Session M. And the lead singer, I think that's her on the front, it's Dale Bozzio, and her husband plays drums and synthesizer. They're real kind of a synth pop 80s new wave. And the irony here is Terry Bozzio, the drum and synth guy, like I said, and then Warren Cucurello, also on this, guitar and backing vocals. Both of those guys played, they were backing musicians for Frank Zappa in the 70s. I mean, couldn't be further away from Frank Zappa. I'm not a Frank Zappa fan. I've tried. It's just one of those things. I've tried it. I just can't do it. Anyway, it's just kind of amusing. You listen to this and it's just, yeah. So I thought that was an interesting side note. But yeah, Dale Bozzio there. She was apparently a Playboy bunny, and she was hanging out in some studio in LA and met her future husband, Terry Bozzio, and then they formed this band. So the story goes. And as you can see, all titles arranged by Bozzio and Cucurello, Of course, like I said, that's Warren Cucurella, the guitar player. But yeah, Destination Unknown and Words. The other two songs are, on the B-side. Like they're okay, but I would have bought this at the time for those two singles, Words and Destination Unknown, and they were on the Capitol label right there. Yeah, it's Missing Persons, very listenable if you like 80s, like synth pop. And like I said, these guys were from Los Angeles, guys and gals that is, with Dale Bosio. Cool singer, kind of quirky voice. I like it. It's great. Call it alternative pop maybe at the time. But yeah, really good. Missing Persons. The letter M continues. Switching gears to some heavy, I don't know what you call it, heavy blues rock. It's Mountain, featuring the late, great Leslie West. He just passed in 2020. I don't know if COVID caught him, but major player. Him and Felix Pappalardi on bass formed this band. It's Mountain, as you can see. This release is called Climbing. Don't know if this is their fourth or fifth album. This was released in 1970, so no, it wouldn't have been their fourth or fifth. It may be I think it's their second album. I stand corrected on that. So yeah, of course, if you listen to classic rock radio, you've heard that song. It's Mississippi Queen, but Theme from an Imaginary Western. That's my favorite. And Free Asger's Farm is good on this too, and Silver Paper. None of these songs are super long, and Mountain could jam. Nothing on here over 5 minutes. Best to find some Mountain live. You won't be disappointed, because Leslie West, there he is right here, the big man, just a great guitar player. Really could rock out in the School like a Vanilla Fudge. Yeah, it looks like I've replaced the inner sleeve on this one. They were on that Bell label, as you can see there. It is Mountain Climbing, and yeah, it's Mountain, the letter M, and we're almost over halfway through this list. So I don't do a lot of comedy. In fact, I do none, but I bought this at the time it came out because as I've said in my previous videos, you all know I'm originally from Ontario, Canada. And I was in high school when this came out, and I was a Rush fan. And of course, Geddy Lee was involved with this, with the legendary song Take Off. And this is just a comedy album. It's kind of a Christmas thing. G'day, you hosers. And it's Bob and Doug McKenzie right there. They're on the front. And yeah, they were just a couple of characters from Second City TV. It was a popular skit program in Canada. And you can see it's fully 100% Canadian content right there with the maple leaf. There's the two lads on the front. It's Dave Thomas, and I forget the other guy's name. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, I don't do comedy. And some of this, the only song on here is, like I said, Take Off, and that's with guest vocals by Geddy Lee from Rush, of course. Beer Hunter is a good skit song where they kind of play Russian roulette, shaking up some beer bottles if you don't know it, and psh, 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 try to find which one explodes. It's kind of humorous. But yeah, I bought this. I was probably 9th or 10th grade, but it's still pretty funny. And there's the RCMP guy down in front, and there's a bunch of stubbies, and there's Canada up here, the Great White North. And again, it's Bob and Doug McKenzie. M is for Mackenzie. All right. And back to some more jazz. Modern Jazz Quartet. They did the first live concert, I want to say 1962-63. I have that album, but I've shown it before. I thought I'd show this one. This is the last concert they did. This is at the Lincoln Center. This was recorded in New York City. 1970, recorded in November 1974, but this record came out on Atlantic in 1975. Personnel, of course, John Lewis on piano, Milt Jackson on the vibes, Percy Heath on bass, and Connie Kay on drums. And after this, they went their own ways. I don't know if they ever got back together for a reunion. I think they might have years later. But again, this was supposedly their last. So you can see the track listing right there. You got Night in Tunisia. That's an excellent piece. That's been done by a few people. I really like the Art Blakey version of that too. He had an album by the same title. The drummer Art Blakey, that is. Blues in A minor. Django, they do a great version of that on here. Skating in Central Park. That's really great. And you can see there's the band on the back right there. There they are on the stage at Lincoln Center. Without them, with them. There they are. So yeah, this is a double LP. It's just promo on the inside. Other artists that were on the Atlantic and Cotillion label at the time. You can see just the standard green and orange Atlantic logo. This is in great condition. Got this a few years ago. probably 3 or 4 years ago. And yeah, I've got a bunch of modern jazz quartet, probably 5 or 6 albums, and it's really listenable. Great quartet, highly recommended. Most of their stuff you really can't go wrong. From active, I want to say from about 1960, like I said, through the mid 70s when they did that last concert. So Chris Montez, pop singer, I guess you could call him, bubblegum, mid 60s. This came out in 65. He'd had a hit before this. I can't think of it, from 63. Definitely more real pop. This is more, I would call it easy listening pop, because guess who got involved and produced this? It's the great Herb Alpert. He's still with us. He put the A in A&M, Herb Alpert and Jerry Moss, A&M, of course. I just watched a really excellent documentary on Herb Alpert, and Chris Montez was mentioned in it. That was streaming on Amazon. Can't think of the name of it, but if you Google Herb Alpert documentary, you could find it. And he's just such an interesting guy. Herb Alpert is also a sculptor, very interesting artist in many capacities. Producer, player, of course, trumpet player, very good at it. Kind of guy gets slammed for being a lounge lizard and all that, but I mean, there's no arguing with the talent he had, and he'd discover artists and promote them, and like Chris Montez here. So again, on the back, you can see there's the two of them right there, and there's a single shot of Chris. But this kicks off with The More I See You, Fly Me to the Moon. They do a version of that. I like it not as much as Frank Sinatra, but it's a good version. One Note Samba, he does a version of that, which is excellent. These are all covers. There'll Never Be Another You. And of course, the big top 40 hit on this was, of course, called Call Me, and it kicks off side 2. And of course, like I said, it's arranged and produced by Herb Alpert. And it's Chris Montez, The More I See You, right there. There he is with his girls. All right, let's see on the side here. Anything on this? Probably not. No. There might be some interesting liner notes. So on the last one here, folks, it's Mulligan. This is a 4-song live EP. Of course, Mulligan from the UK. This was from a double live, these excerpts from this, The Thieving Magpie, which I have on compact disc. This came out in 1988. This was the last tour featuring frontman Fish. There you can see him down there, the lead singer. F-I-S-H, not to be confused with the jam band P-H-I-S-H. No relation. I'm a big Mulligan fan. I unfortunately saw them 91 at a club show in Ottawa when I was still in university, and it was disappointing. It was a new singer, and he wasn't as good as Fish. Fish almost sounded like Peter Gabriel at points. I always used to say that. Any Mulligan fans out there watching this video, maybe comment on that. I always saw similarities in his singing style, remind me of old Genesis, and that's what this is. It's kind of proggy, prog pop, if you will. But yeah, really listenable. Misplaced Childhood is probably my favorite album. It's a concept album by Mulligan, and there's 2 tracks on this from that. Of course, the big single that kicked off Misplaced Childhood, Kayleigh. This is a great live version, and of course, Childhood's End. I think that finished off the Misplaced Childhood studio album. But yeah, like I said there, this is excerpts from The Thieving Magpie, double live. Yeah, and again, it's Mulligan, 1988. And this rounds out my list of My Name Starts with M, 12 albums, beginning with the letter M, or 12 artists, rather. So, anyway, anybody wants to do it, any Daves, Steves, see your D video, your S video, you get the picture. I'd be curious to see it. Just looking for something new to talk about. There's not really a lot of contests going on in the vinyl community, not much going on in that respect. So I thought, I just come up with these ideas when I'm out for a run. So I thought I'd throw this video together quick, and I hope you enjoyed it. Kind of always have fun making these things, and please leave a comment below. I do enjoy the comments. And have a great weekend. It's almost midday Saturday here in New England, and could be an apple picking day for me in the Bride. I think we have that in the cards this afternoon, and because my wife loves to bake and I like to eat, so make an apple pie. That'll be maybe round out our afternoon. So enjoy whatever you're doing. That's what I'm doing, and I'll see you next time.